that this face was a smile. This is not a smile.
Yeah.
I am dead serious.
Yeah.
And they're just entitled rich guys with a credit card who think that they can do whatever they want. And I'm just like, okay, so put your shirts on and pay your bill and leave. And leave. And the one guy, while he was still half naked, and my male manager came over, still added his presence, and even then it still took them a few minutes to like get their crap together. He goes, listen, we're not offending anybody. And I looked at him and I was like, I am offended. I am offended. Hi, I am a person. I don't care that I'm your server. I am offended. You've asked for my phone number. At one point when I gave them the receipt, the guy's like, oh, is your address on it? And I'm like, do you actually ask women this? Like, who are obligated, like, I'm obligated to stand here and do a freaking job, and you are just and I had told them multiple times they crossed the line. Like, and so after 10 years, I decided I'm not going to be nice about it anymore. I don't care. And my manager, bless his soul, we call it firing customers because they're regulars. They come back often. He's like, so we have a case here. He's like, if you would like me to fire them, I will. He's like, it's absolutely not okay. He's like, I'm still going to talk to them about it regardless because he has their information. He has their number. But they came back twice to just like try and come back. And I was working and I was like, what are you doing? No. And they're like, oh, we don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, yes, you do. And then because the next day he had texted one of the servers who he knows on a personal level and was like, oh, please tell Cass that we're sorry for our behavior last night. So you know exactly what you did and you're trying to brush it off. And so I told my boss, I was like, if they want to come back in here, because whatever, I'm just here to do a job and we can make it so that I never have to serve them again. I was like, but if they want to come back here, they're gonna have to take full accountability and not come up with excuses. Because the one guy was like, hey, so I know you had a problem with my friend Jim because he asked for your number and your address, and like, that's not okay. And I was like, I also had a problem with you because you had your shirt off telling me you were not being offensive, and I was standing there telling you that you don't get to decide what is what offends me or what doesn't. And he's all, oh, no, my friend didn't have a shirt, so I was taking mine off to give to him. And I was like, no, all of you had clothing on when you came in. Otherwise, that wouldn't have even been a scenario because one of you wouldn't have been allowed in the bar. And he's like, no, you're refusing to listen to reason. We're done here. And he walks out the door, and my other manager was standing there, and I was just like, it's just not a time for excuses. You messed up. Take accountability. And if your fragile ego can't handle it, then you don't get to come back here because this is my place where I feel safe. And the one inherent right that I have as a minimum wage paid person as a server is I get to refuse the right to serve anybody for any reason at any time, and that's the only right that I have. And that's when I get to exercise with them now. So I'm like, I always shut them down.
You obviously have a really strong sense of who you are and what you're going to put up with or not, especially because of time and experience. What would you be saying to new girls in your situation who are also attractive and I don't know, like, it seems like these guys operate on the privilege of, I've got cash to throw around and that makes me accessible. I'm not sure what that makes sense. Anyway, what would you say to like new girls?
Well, a lot of them will be like, oh my god, that guy was really creepy, and I'm like, what did he say? Did you want me to go and talk to them, or do you want to go a manager to go and talk to them? And it's really important that I'm like, that I let them know that it's totally fine to play into stuff like that, because if they're gonna do this and it's like the culture that is around the industry, and we have an opportunity to make money off of it, I think that you should, within the safety of your boundaries. I don't put up with any of it anymore, but I played a guy for his money on a tip, on a whatever, and oh, let me put a drink on my bill for you. Okay, let me add a bottle of wine for you. Like, just stupid little things like that. But I make sure that they know that once that, like, you're still allowed to have boundaries and you don't owe them anything. If they cross the line of putting you in that position because you are under obligation to stand here and serve them, and like, I've had guys that go on for minutes before they've even let me take an order because like, oh, you're beautiful. And now with these masks too, the really inappropriate thing is they're like, can I see your face? And like, show me your nose. I bet you have a pretty nose. And I'm like, what fetishes do you like? No, this is actually a part of my uniform now. You asking me to pull this off without my consent is just as much as asking me to see my boobs.
Yeah.
Tell me the difference.
Sure enough. Yeah.
Right? And they're all
almost like
ooh,
objectifying you.
I'm like, no, and like you're allowed to play into it if you want to, but know that like that is your territory.
I have one more minute with you. I'm gonna ask you a question. Please say no if you don't feel comfortable. That's a legitimate answer, okay? So I would great conversation, really fascinating. I would love to feature it for my followers if you're comfortable, but it's up to you though.
Sure.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
It's like you'll be on the internet, video-wise. Are you okay with that dynamic?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure that you're on board with that because not everyone likes their privacy. Do you mind signing a consent form for me?
Sure.
Awesome. I'll give you my card so you can see what I do online or whatever.
Okay.
But this is just the form that I'll have you consider.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is so juicy and so, like, I would love for others to hear like this kind of.
Interesting.
I had one more question I had too. It was just, but I lost it. That's right. Right, I remember the question. Do you think money changes people?
Yes.
Okay. Because it's one of those things I've often wondered, you know, because I'm not in that echelon of economic success, but I've often wondered, you know, if I ever get to such a place, what kind of things do I need to keep on the radar by way of, how do I still remain me and the values that I presently have and commitments that I'm committed to? How do I not change? Have you ever thought about that?
Yes.
Okay. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
All the time. Actually, my mom and her sisters came from like a very poor lifestyle, and then my aunt ended up marrying a rich white guy.
Okay.
And benefits from that now. And this last pandemic, because she has her own business, it's obviously suffered a little bit.
Yeah.
And my mom has mentioned, she's like, I've never, like, money has never really been a thing for us. Like, material things have never been our thing. We've learned not to rely on that. And she's like, I've never seen my sister act this way, because it's like all she has now is her money. When we were little, she would promise us trips to Disneyland, and she would buy us things, and it'd be like, when she was little, she was my favorite aunt, and I didn't realize that it was because she bought me. And now that I'm older and I see what she has, like her values and stuff like that, and I've like called her out on some certain things, especially regarding the last like social climate of the last year. You can just, I'm just like, oh, it's because of money that you're like this, because you came from nothing. So it just like, it's weird to see how it did change, because her other sisters don't have that privilege, and they're not like that. So I'm just like, oof. I'm not versed on my postal code. I apologize.
That's okay, dear. That's all right. Thank you, by the way, for sharing. I really, really enjoyed the visit.
Yeah, no problem. It was a great conversation. Clearly had some things to get out.
I was drinking it up, and that's why I'm very careful who I ask, and I don't ask when the conversation gets personal.
Right.
I was like, there's a lot here that's being said that I think would still benefit. A lot of my followers are young guys, unexpected though, but 12 to 25-year-old guys, and I'm encouraged that they follow my content because of things that I stand for. In fact, I was thinking about this while we were talking earlier. I'll give you my card here so you can see what I do. When I was when you're talking about how it's noteworthy when you meet someone good, I'm like, that's unfortunate that it's noteworthy.
Yeah.
And so like my catchphrase I have is, let's make kindness ordinary again.
Right.
As a way of saying it's unfortunate that it's unusual.
Yeah.
And so,
true. Absolutely true.
I so loved it.
Oh my god, it was so nice to meet you. Yeah. I'll definitely follow up.
Where do you work?
I just work at Local right here.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll look out for you, Elaine.
Okay, awesome. Thanks so much.
Bye, Cass. Me too.